Alan, tell me about Alan. Hey, what are you doing? Alan, tell me about My Hero Academia. You're next.
Okay, so let's just say the reason this movie appears here is because I have a daughter who is a massive fan of My Hero Academia, and she wanted to see it, and so I took her, and that's what we saw last night. I will say right up front, I know very little about this series. All I know is what she tells me constantly. She loves it. I took her to see it, and so here we go. My Hero Academia, You're Next. If you're familiar with the series, it takes place after season 6, after the paranormal liberation war. Have no idea what that is, but suffice it to say is that Japan is devastated at this point. The city is being run by the Jailbreakers, a group of villains. There are some heroes who are left after the war, who have decided that they're going to be kind of the vigilantes and take care of these jailbreakers. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a imposing figure shows up. His name is Dark Might. He looks amazingly like the great All Might, which I have no idea the significance of that, but he looks like All Might. And he says that he is there to be the successor to All Might, the greatest hero of Japan. He brings this giant fortress along with him. And as people are starting to feel comfortable, feel safe with such an imposing figure to impose rule, we find out his true plans. He is here to capture the people of this town, whatever it's called in Japan, and he calls them specimens. And apparently, what's happening is that he has to collect people, heroes, whoever, who are compatible with him in order to maintain his imposing power. And the way he does it is through a girl named Anna. Her quirk is that she can enhance power. But in order to do so, she must have her own power enhanced. And so that's where these people come in. He's able to use their powers to make him much more strong and powerful. The only person there who can save the day is Deku. He is the one, I guess, was given the powers of All Might when All Might went powerless. And him and his friends go in to save the day. So I kind of like this movie. I get the story behind it somewhat. It's the idea that it's the idea of Dark Might here is the use of power. His goal is to gain as much power as he can to become this imposing figure, while the original All Might learned that with power comes the responsibility to use it responsibly. And that's kind of the lesson being taught here. I think the appeal of this movie is the fact that if you're familiar with the series, a lot of people after season 6 die, retire, lose their powers, whatever. In this movie, this is kind of like the Avengers. It brings back a lot of familiar characters that fans have loved. It brings them back one more time, unites the heroes and the villains to defeat this big power, this big powered villain. It does it in the way My Hero Academia does it. I'm okay with the movie. I saw it. I had a good time. The action was fun. But for those of you fans, I will tell you my daughter's review. She says this: of the 4 films, this is the best one. And even she admitted it wasn't. That's not necessarily saying much. What's good about it is they banded together all the heroes and villains from the first 6 seasons, and they all make appearances. She was going nuts as certain characters started showing up. And like I said, I think my notes here is she was spazzing out over the appearance of certain characters. So, if you're a fan of the film, I guess this is a good one for you. I don't know that I do think you need to have an understanding of the series before going in. Otherwise, I think you're going to be lost. So, for me personally, not knowing the series, I'll give it a very mild recommendation. And if you're a fan, you can go off my daughter's advice. She loved it. Go see it.
Well, I'll say this. I'm always intimidated when I see something like this because, it's a lot of these movies are kind of based on long running
Mhm.
series or manga. And so I'm always like, well, what is this, the 6th movie in the series based on the 30th season of the
Mhm.
anime, based on the comic that's been running for 20 years? Like, I don't know, where's my entry point? Do I
Yeah.
start in the early ones, or can I just start here and catch up and then go back? Like, so I'll probably skip this one, to be honest,
Yeah,
because
I would say if it's going to be a tough one to kind of latch onto. I mean, you get it. These kids have superpowers, but there's a lot of lore there that you need to understand, like the history of it. There's also an understanding of how these kids get their powers, and how the powers can be taken away and given back. And there's certain categories of powers that I don't understand or need to study before going in. But in terms of just sitting back and watching some action, you could definitely do worse.
so a mild recommend from
Mild
you.
recommendation.
I'm gonna skip it based on what I
Yeah.
heard, mainly because it's too intimidating. I mean, some of the other series like Dragon Ball Z, I can jump in because I kind of know those characters. So I'm like, oh, it's another
Yeah.
adventures with familiar characters, or other anime series. But I don't know, something like this, it was just
Yeah.
not on my radar.
I mean, here's the thing. If you want to bring fans in, you need to make a movie that says something, that has some grand message. Like, I think that's why a lot of people who never read Lord of the Rings loved Lord of the Rings so much, because it had something to say that people could relate to. The message in here is fairly basic. Use your power responsibly, work together. Um, that's and when it comes to the cameos and appearances, uh, over my head.